Oh, welcome back to the second hour and the final hour of News Hour tonight at Ken Mijungo across all social media networks, our platforms, and of course, you can join the conversation at KTN Kenya KE and use the hashtag News Hour. Now tonight, we have three topics we have to talk about. Wafula Chebukati's legacy as he exits the scene. Then there's those sensational claims from President William Ruto about an attempted abduction and, of course, murder of Wafula Chebukati pre-2022 general election. And lastly, we look at those very wild claims from the Azimio chapter, that's Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, who claims that Raila Odinga actually won this election with about 3 million votes, 57% against Ruto's 41%. And 141 constituencies had their results altered. Very wild claims. We'll be interrogating that with two gentlemen that I'm glad to see this year. Gentlemen, Happy New Year. Professor Umenya, good to see you. Bado unajenga tu, si ndio?
Sisi ni watu wa mjengo.
Tunajenga nchi. Sisi tutapaka rangi.
Na tunajenga siasa pia.
Kabisa. Ambrose Weda Wakili, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Asante sana for coming. Both political and governance analysts speaking to me tonight on these topics. Let's begin where it matters. Wafula Chebukati, 6 years. He's the first chairperson of that commission to drive it to the end. 6 years. In spite, remember the first year after 2017, they tried to push him out, but he stayed strong. Actually, at one point, even wanted to resign when he became so bad. But he stayed on for 6 years, conducted 2 general elections, 3 presidential elections, if you add the repeat election, and of course, several by-elections. There is no chairperson who will do that. Even if we get one this year, they can only do that. Let me begin with you, Ambrose.
Yes.
He's leaving after 6 years. His legacy, what is it about?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. Fellow Kenyans, good evening. My brother, I think Chebukati has done relatively well in difficult circumstances. Conducting elections in this country is not an easy exercise. The IEBC or the Electoral Commission or the Electoral Body has had very many casualties. It's like a football referee. One side will celebrate you, another one will kick you because you are presiding over a contest which is life and death. So if you look at what he has finished his tour of duty, he needs to be congratulated, having served in circumstances where one side would want to get you out as soon as they can. He has, during his tenure, has been able to make substantial improvement. One thing you accord him is that he took note of the decisions the court made, the flaws. Whenever the court said this was a problem, they would go back, and when you come for the next election, you find this is corrected. So I would say that he has done relatively well. My classmate, Isaac Hassan, was a casualty, and he left out very bitterly. He was bitter. He told the people, those of you who have hounded me out, you will always lose. And that was because there's always a hounding. But Chebukati was lucky because at one point, people forgot about him. The handshake came, and those who specialize in hounding, the IEBC chair, relaxed. So by the time they realized,
it was an election again.
And people would be like, let's leave it. So that, I think, was the mistake they did. But he did well. That is one of the hardest jobs. It is like a kind of a job where you are working in hell. Occasionally, you try to do some shelters, but you're always in hell. So having come up to this, I think we need to thank him.
And thank God. A job well done.
Yes.
I mean, there must be areas that he also faltered. I'm coming back to that. But your initial comments about Chebukati 6 years on, for me, what I remember with Chebukati is just where he's finished.
Yes.
Right.
This guy will just go silent. You would not know. He will not be addressing the media. He will not be saying anything. You know?
Yeah,
that really helped him because a lot of things were not questioned then.
You know, Ken, I mean, I'd agree with Ambrose here 100% that some jobs are really made in hell. They're very difficult. And the IBC chair's job is one such job. It's amazing that Chebukati, finished his tour of duty. Any normal human being would not. And I think one of the things that really...
Are you saying he's abnormal?
We are saying he's special.
He's special.
He's a special human being.
Yes.
You need spine. And based on the sensational stories that we're hearing today, it tells you the context in which this man was working. This man was dodging death. You're actually working against a state. Typically, anybody who's tried to do anything against a state and a sitting president, you get yourself into exile.
Straight up, after election you go.
Not even after, even during that election. Who will protect you?
Akombe left, by the way.
The state has monopoly of violence and has instruments of violence, and there's no way you take a state, actually, when they exercise those instruments. That's why we give the president a sword. If I keep telling people that if you have to have one ministry only in a government, it shall be called the Ministry of Violence. The state monopolizes violence. And this is a man who was determining who would actually run the state.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
And he was determining it against sometimes the existing state. That is something we must laud Chebukati for. It's something that Kenyans may not comprehend. How can you, as a normal human being, actually stand against a sitting state and disagree with them? Because that was the consequence. That was this election.
It was easy because that state was rolling over, so it was easy.
But they were in power still.
Yeah, but they were rolling over. They were not going to be there. So it was easy to work with someone who was living rather than someone who's likely to sit.
No. Remember, when Chebukati was determining this election, there was a government, there was a state, there was a military, there was all the instruments of state.
And they were working.
And they were working. And he made a decision that didn't appease them. This, to me, is something very interesting. The second thing is that people forget about the history of Chebukati. Chebukati actually was a member of the ODM and ran in ODM. And Chebukati made decisions that ODM was not happy with. And I think these are issues of principle that we must actually look at. How has this man made decisions in the past and against whom? And it is very, very interesting in terms of the decisions that he actually made. And so far, I don't really think that anybody has come up with, plausible reasons as to the interference. If anything, I think Chebukati had more things to worry about when the previous election, 2017, were cancelled by the courts.
Okay.
As opposed to these other ones where the courts actually were aligned. So whichever way we looked at it, there's a Kenyan who worked under very difficult circumstances and pushed on till the end. I think this country would be in chaos if Chebukati decided to quit. At
midway.
some point, midway.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. But exactly, I know even as we give him praises for standing on and continuing with his job, despite the difficult circumstances that you speak about.
Right.
We go back to when Chebukati was appointed.
Right.
And straight up, he had 8 months to run an election.
Right.
That election is cancelled. He goes back to the drawing board.
Right.
He's vilified by everyone.
Right.
On the other side was the opposition, vilifying Chebukati and trying to justify the cancellation by the Maraga court.
Correct.
And saying, you see, you did a wrong thing. And on this side, there was a very angry government. Their election was cancelled, right?
Yes.
And they're preparing for a repeat election. And Chebukati is right in the middle with the opposition shouting top of their voice, including boycotting that election.
Right.
We are not going to the election with Chebukati. Now, that was the first push to have him out. And actually, at that time, my friends who are close to him tell me Chebukati was about to resign. He was about to resign and leave.
Correct.
But he stayed on. So that's an example of the false starts that Chebukati had.
But Ken, it's still the same thing. And the way I would like to look at this, and that's why we're using this as an example. We're not saying that Chebukati was perfect in any way. But I think we have this idea that Kenya belongs to some Kenyans. So these Kenyans who own Kenya can push you out. And I think the lesson to many people is that Kenya belongs to all of us. So if I think I'm in the right, whether you're the president or you're the prime minister or whoever you are, or you're the political party, I'll stay on and do my work. Yeah, because we always have this thing that the powers that be. And then meanwhile, you find that the country suffers because, you gave up or you gave in to somebody else who's just a Kenyan like you, but happens to be holding,
have monopoly. I'd like to ask you about that monopoly, but let Ambrose weigh in on this from where he started. Did you see it ending this way, the way it ended?
Yes, please get it this way. Number one, bashing the electoral body. One is the one way of mobilizing supporters.
Right.
So in politics, it's not that you bash them because they're bad, but you bash them to mobilize those who support you and say, these thieves, we are going to defeat them, whether they like or not, whether they're with us, in deep state, in state, out state. So that is one aspect. Secondly, some of these jobs, there's nowhere where you have experience first.
You learn on the job.
Yes, the presidency. There's nowhere where you learn as president, then you become president. It is the small jobs where you have to be
a minister.
The big jobs, you are learned into the deep sea and you work. So he was there, and there were structures, there were people.
Right.
And without the election deniers, election is not that complicated.
True.
It's not that, it's not aeronautical engineering or science or rocket science where you have to do Pythagoras theory. These ones are basically, do you have the ballot boxes? Do you have the ballot papers? Have you done them correctly? Have you listed the candidates? Have you printed it? How will you transport it? If some delay, when are you transporting them? It is simply that. And the personnel are here. We have people who have conducted these elections here. So it is incumbent upon the chairman, and when they come as a team, just to sit down and arrange. It is only that some people try to look good. They are populist. What do I mean by being populist? You are appointed a commissioner. You are supposed to run things and give us the results and the report. Then you quit. People like Akombe, they quit. They leave us in the middle. I don't know whether they wanted us to cut each other with pangas. Imagine if Chebukati woke up in the middle of the election, say, I quit.
Repeat elections.
And he knows the constitution the way it is.
Yeah.
He's simply saying, Kenyans,
you're on your own.
Chapana, let's take by force.
Sort it out.
Yes, so I think he may have been pushed to the wall. But having good people out. I remember
and a constitutional mandate.
I remember when he was about to quit, I know a young, brilliant lawyer.
Yes.
Who actually intervened, the one who could access him when everybody else
when he disappeared somewhere.
Yes. He could access him and went and also shared with him and said, my brother.
He's our friend and he's watching.
You cannot quit.
You remember Kiwitu?
Yeah. You understand that?
Saying you had no idea what
who had left the election.
So,
you take a stand.
You look at it that after weathering that one, then we came to the repeat elections. I still think as a lawyer that the decision, the Baraga decision was not jurisprudentially correct. It was because of the way those who are opening the server they came back to court, the court ordered and come and let open the server, then they came, and I remember Muite saying that those people are still asleep. And even me, I saw it on TV and I said, even if I was a judge, this is serious. He couldn't have said that. He could have given another reason, but saying they are still asleep.
Francis, we can't talk
so
about
it gave the impression that there are some votes in the server. Ukifungua server, there are votes. And it then gave the narrative that there is a logarithm. Although if you looked at it empirically, there was nothing. But the elections were nullified. They were nullified on, in my view, not on the sound law that would have been applied. He still stayed on. He is still bashed. Even the new ones who will come will be bashed. If you are not bashed, then either there are no elections, or if you are conducting elections, there are no serious contenders. It is so obvious. So people praise you, you have done well. And there will also be mistakes. There will also be attempts to rig. There will be attempts. And if you are not strong enough, the system is not strong enough, people will rig. So I think Chebukati having moved up to the end, it is understandable. And it's also a good job. It's a lucrative job. It's a big job.
But Ambrose, I mean, I think for me the bigger concern, and that, a bit of that is starting to come out here, is this sort of conflict between the state and the IEBC. The state itself trying to interfere with elections. In fact, for me, that's one of the key things that concerns me. That the state is very powerful. The state has the military, has the intelligence, has the police. The state has monopoly of power and monopoly of life over death. Now, I mean, if you're standing on one side as IBC chair and on the other side against the state, and what Chebukati is telling us, and what
but Prof, you shouldn't be against anyone. You are a referee in the middle.
No,
you can't say, because you've said this thrice, that he was working against the state, against the
he
state.
He said it himself.
It shouldn't be that.
Who was trying to kidnap him?
No, but it shouldn't be that. That is not how independent institutions should work in this country.
And that's why I'm talking about my concerns.
Yes.
That if IBC says that the state was interfering or wanted to interfere with elections, to me that's a very serious concern, because the question that I would ask myself was that is it possible that the state was successful at some point?
Okay.
Say in previous
let
elections.
Let me ask you, my brother. Let me ask you this.
It actually puts IBC in itself into question.
No. I don't think
like so. That nullified election.
No. If you are the IBC chair, and none of these contented players are trying to interfere with your process.
What do you mean none? He said he was trying to be kidnapped.
Just listen. If you are IEBC chair,
right,
and you are conducting elections,
right,
and none of the main protagonists
right.
are trying to interfere with the process,
right.
then something is wrong with
the
process.
Problem.
Oh, because
I get your logic.
Yeah.
Because
I get your logic.
Even if I was the president, and I can have my way through the IEBC, I can't sit back and fold my hands. I'll call the IEBC and say, "How do we extra votes? I had there.
How do you win this election?
Yes. How do you win this thing? If I'm in the opposition and you want to get power, and you tell IEBC, can you give us extra ballot paper?
No.
So that is a normal process.
Actually, what you're saying is very interesting. That we expect the state to interfere. We expect
not just the state, even the opposition.
We expect
everyone
to
in the contention.
And actually, the ball is in IBC court
to decide.
Ensure that they remain non-partisan.
I have a question for you relating to what you've said about the state. And this is a very sensitive topic, because I wouldn't want such suggestions to come over the head of someone. First, the character of the president and the place of the president in this country as a symbol of unity. For the claims that were made by the president, Prof, that they were planning to abduct him. I sat at an interview on the 4th of January with the president, and when someone asked about that mess, because before he was sworn in, you remember some of the things he said, including the fact that he will speak about what happened at the election. They spoke about some things yesterday, But for the president to come out and say the IBC chairperson, there was attempted abduction, attempted killing, And it's a very serious thing to say, because then it goes to question some of our institutions. But coming from the president, and you having said the monopoly of violence and all this, and the state has it. I mean, there is no balance. For me, if what you're saying is correct, what stopped the state from eliminating Chebukati? From what you're saying?
Exactly. That's what we're asking, that did the state try to eliminate Chebukati, and how did they fail?
How successful were they?
How successful were they?
Yes.
So was Chebukati protected by Al-Qaeda or Uganda government? Or the Kenyan state is so useless that they can actually plot to kill just one human being and fail? So honestly, I actually think those statements must be looked at, they have to be taken seriously. But actually, I believe those statements are political statements. I don't really think the Kenyan government can have a citizen in Kenya whose location they know, with all the mechanisms,
including state-provided bodyguards, as a chairman of a commission.
And fail. Honestly, I think whoever made that statement is belittling the Kenyan state. Not whoever, it was made by the president. Yes. The president himself, I think that is something that he should have made, is a statement he should have made in Karatina Market, not in State House, honestly, as the head of state. And this is what I actually believe. Number two, if indeed this was the issue, and we have a sitting president who has this information, who has information and intelligence, who again has the infrastructure, I think the responsible thing, really, is to use that particular infrastructure and bring the people who tried to commit this crime to book. To me, I think it's populist. I think it's improper. I think it is totally. I mean, you only get political bonga points by coming to the public, because who is meant to resolve this problem? Who is meant to deal with it? who has the instruments to deal with it is the president.
Okay. I'll place it, I'll try and twist it a little bit also. I have sat with the president where he has said there will be no extrajudicial killing. In fact, he went ahead and said there was a container at a police station, and that's why I fired that man Kioni, right? The president knows the extrajudicial killings were happening in this country. And then he comes out to tell us that the state that had a container that had presided over so many extrajudicial killings that President William Ruto has swore will never happen in his country again. That state had no monopoly to kill Wafula Chebukati at that time. I mean, some of these things, the way he's saying. So how
can you allow me to react to it?
Please do.
I think let's not be emotional. Let's be logical.
No, we're being logical.
We are being logical.
Now,
we're just being
listen to me carefully.
Being enthusiastic is
listen to me
emotional.
carefully. When we talk about the state, we are using a collective term. Collective term. You talk about the military, you talk about the government. Collective term. In this big, humongous term, there are individual players.
True.
That is how you also end up with what we call the deep state. Ndani state.
We don't have it. There's no deep state.
Just give me time to put this thing. Just give me time.
Proceed.
Just give me time.
Okay, proceed.
So the deep state is generally that clique that has the last ear of the president. That is normally the deep state, the one where now he says, this guy should go. There's no question whether it's right or wrong. Now that is now the deep state. Now the president's claim that Chebukati, some people try to kidnap Chebukati and eliminate him, kill him, I don't know. Attempt to kidnap him. Look at the motivation. Then I give you the narrative. The motivation was this. It had reached a time when it was very clear that the faction that the president wanted to win was not winning. Therefore, you needed to have a constitutional crisis where you form a government of national unity. How do you form it? You just need an extra day so that results are not announced within the constitutional period. And that was only one more day. That would have formed the basis of the kidnapping.
So this is
please let me put let me put it.
This is hypothetical.
Please.
Let's listen to his theory.
Let's listen to the theory.
Now let's come to facts. Let's come to facts. On the day that Chebukati was to announce the results, he was holed up in his house.
15th of September.
Yes, holed up. He couldn't come out because of security concerns. He then called some senior religious leaders to go and pray with him. So having called for a prayer, they obliged. They went, prayed with him. It is at that point he said, now, I have a problem between here and reaching Bomas. I am leaving my house. I don't know whether I'll reach. I just leave it to God. The religious leaders, those ones, these are on camera.
Yeah,
look at your library.
They've said it, yeah.
They're there. When they left, it is the religious leaders who covered his car. So these people could not blatantly grab him, but there was a Range Rover that constantly tried to block him. But because of the presence of these leaders, it was now difficult to do something more serious. These are on camera. This was something escorted. That is how, when eventually he entered Bomas, there was bitterness with some of these religious leaders. They foiled that attempt. How did they foil it? One, they were there present. Two, they prayed. And when you pray, there is the physical, and then there is now the angelic presence The guardian angels.
Ambrose,
please let me finish, then you'll talk.
This is a
Let me finish.
Okay, fine.
I'm talking. Yes.
We're coming to you,
Let
Prof.
me finish.
Yeah.
So, this was an event that was not only witnessed but captured. There was a car, a Range Rover car, that on not only once, not only twice, tried to block him as he was heading to Bomas. He was in the presence of Kenya police, his own security. Now, those who were trying to block him could not have been Al-Qaeda foreigners. They could only be more serious people, more senior people who did not care about these other people. These are basic facts. Whether they were going to kidnap him, to kill him, that one, I don't know. But if you want to know the position, get the claims from the media houses. They captured it throughout. So when the president says there was an attempt to kill Chebukati, please, let's take this thing seriously. Let's take this thing. It is only by grace of God, the King of Kings, Jehovah, who intervened and said, we have prayed too much. If you have lost, you have lost. Whether you are with President Uhuru or not, Kenya will move forward. So it's not a joke the way you are saying.
Okay. Ambrose, I remember there was actually, I mean, there's a time when, Chebukati came in and, there's actually a plane that picked him and took him to France and, was protected by the French bodyguards. And, really, I mean, and some of these things were on camera.
Are we talking about the same person?
Let me tell you, that is a story that Ambrose just told us. Is as implausible like that. I mean, you'll see cars on the road. To start imagining that because a car is on the road is a Range Rover trying to kidnap Chebukati, I mean, it's figment of imagination. I think really, I don't believe as a normal human being.
Your belief does not matter.
With an intellect, surely, Akina Kenya were reporting a Range Rover trying to kidnap Chebukati. Please, I mean, these bollocks.
Be logical.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't really make sense.
Ambrose.
So you were telling me Kenya government was driving this Range Rover that failed to kidnap Chebukati? Really, Ambrose, let's be fair. I don't think that's not plausible. But on the other hand, we are saying it doesn't really matter. If this was the case, and we are saying it's on camera, and now we have a different government that maybe is more competent, let them arrest those guys and just have them charged in court.
Exactly. Because I think if you have that intelligence that they were trying to abduct Chebukati,
and you're saying the information is in public
now,
domain. Let us get those guys arrested and
paraded before Kenya.
Allow me also to put my point.
Yes.
My brother, we are talking about high-octane politics. We don't talk about...
We know.
Please allow me to finish.
Please,
allow me to put my... as a lawyer, we speak orderly.
Yes, as an architect.
This is not a Muratina-like meeting. Please allow me.
Okay.
Allow gentlemen and ladies to talk. Now,
please, but be factual. Don't give us Afro cinema. Honestly, this is national TV. Don't create things that you can't.
Kenyans will judge. Kenyans are going to judge if it's Afro cinema.
Now,
yes.
We are talking about high-octane politics.
The one that determines the state who's going to run the state for 5 years.
So,
but tell us facts, not
please stop.
Prof.
Okay.
Prof.
You can call him Prof. But the way he
I am Prof.
The way he said, no,
please,
can
we allow?
Proceed.
Of which area?
Proceed.
This is high-octane politics.
Yes.
The attempt to kidnap the IEBC to create a constitutional crisis was high-octane. Now, being high-octane, there are interests now and in future. So it is not just something that a new president like President Ruto comes in and says, arrest that one, arrest that one. There are many things for the stability of this country. There are many things to just come and say, Baba, let's move forward. That is why the president said, it was before they said, when we come to power,
yes,
we will appoint a commission to investigate state capture. That was good. Hallelujah, and we clap.
Yeah.
When he comes in,
he realizes
you are going to open wounds. You can find yourself in the streets. So please,
Don't.
relax, build roads, hospitals,
He actually
forget about it.
He actually said it when he was questioned.
Yes.
What happened to the commission? Because we're looking at 100 days and the promises you had made.
Yes.
One of the things, in fact, one of the things that Kenyans remember the most is Nikieka tu Biblia chini cartels. These are cartels. This is cartels.
Those cartels can cut your neck. You don't just
Neck of a president.
Please. You see, when you are outside,
You see things differently.
You say things that give you votes. I'll go there. I'll go and close KTN. I'll go and close Nation TV. All these people will turn them. When you get to power, the first person who congratulates you is His Highness the Aga Khan. Then you see the Moi family calling you and say, "You are Mr. President, we wish you all the best." Then you find all these people and you find the President of America. And the moment you start by, we want to find out who tried to
rig the election,
to kidnap Chebukati. You'll find Joe Biden saying, "Bwana, the price of unga is so high. Deal with it."
Okay, it's priority.
Don't
priority.
People.
Yeah.
That is why some things will be left. If you are to deal with them, you deal with them towards the end. Otherwise, it is not that they didn't happen.
So what you're saying is so basically throw them under the carpet until it's convenient for you. That's what you're saying.
No, not to him.
Yeah. For someone else?
What you're saying is that some people try to kidnap.
We need to finish.
Yes, some people try to kidnap the Electoral Commission chairman, and Ambrose has evidence. But then it's in the interest of Kenyans that this matter be put under the carpet
until President
sometimes forever.
And then, of course, the president picks it and highlights it. And then, of course, Ambrose also picks it and highlights it.
That's the concern, Ambrose.
Yes.
Because I was at that interview where the president he was asked about it specifically. He said, "My friend, I'm at a loss. Should I first deal with issues of unga, economy, or should I open that, not in his words, but open that can of worms that is election?" You know, he said, so he's chosen a path that he's taking, and his path
is... Just leave it. Correct.
Then why do you go to a political platform
and then open it up
and say it?
So that people also know that you have not forgotten. People know that it happened, but
they don't know.
Please,
because you don't want to confirm it. So it's a political bonga point thing.
Professor anashout kama mtu ya Jogoro dili.
Sisi ni watu wa Jogorod.
No, ni wewe.
So the thing is that, look, you cannot come and bring an issue and then say no. You know, it's just...
We have been here with professors. They don't behave the way you're behaving.
It's just politics. It's just politics. So
I think the professor, with all fairness, is just concerned about a point that he needs clarification.
But it sounds like even those who are shouting...
You don't decide who becomes professor and how they sound. You, Ambrose, stick to your trade and your lane. You know, you're not the one who makes professors.
I think he also deserves a chance
Let me explain.
Yeah. But pragmatically, Kenyans just need to understand this aspect of these claims.
As at now, let me tell you, you open up some of these election things. You have opened up a war front with President Uhuru. Nearly everybody in the government still today were Uhuru's men. You open up a war front with Raila supporters. You open up war fronts when your president is still at the baby stage, still trying to walk.
But why don't you just not open it at all? Like, why didn't he just yesterday decide, I'm not going to talk about
this?
So
that Kenyans do not think he doesn't know or he has forgotten.
Okay.
But opening them now, when Unga is still, we'll tell them, did we elect you to go and hound people, or we elected you to reduce the price of Unga? And therefore, he has chosen the path of economy, reconciling people. That's why you saw him in Lowland, reconciling people. Not talk about elections, who rigged what.
You talked about it. That's what President.
But you are contradicting yourself.
He talked about it as a joke.
How would he talk about it as a joke?
Listen, as a joke here is this.
I don't think he jokes. See, this is a serious matter.
A serious matter. The serious platform.
You are defending the indefensible.
Call him his name.
We will mute him.
You see?
Mute him, yes.
On the serious platform, you would have simply formed a commission to look into it.
Exactly.
Get the details.
Now you are speaking like somebody
having realized inside the office that in order of priority, that commission ranks down. We are having issues with Unga. CBC, going to school, oil, electricity, so it comes down.
Okay.
So it is down. It is when it is down that now he comes about and say, you people, I know this thing almost happened.
Ambrose, we need to end this topic, but you have to answer one question.
Yes.
I have understood you. And I bet Prof. Amependa tu kusumbua. He's my friend. You know him. Amependa tu kusumbua. But Ambrose, if you just answer this question, then we move on. We have about 20 minutes on the clock.
Yes.
Why then does he bring it at this point? Just answer that. Not because he wants to tell Kenyans, I have not forgotten. But why? Look into his psyche. Why would he bring it yesterday? Because it's a very serious matter. He's not going to lie down. Look at the way Azimio have responded. Yes. Look at yesterday, the amount of response from members of parliament. I saw Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna respond straight up. I saw Jimmy Wanjigi respond. I saw a number of people respond on social media asking for accountability out of that statement. Why is it? Because it's bringing these emotions. Imagine the family of Chebukati who didn't even know, for example, that he was supposed to be abducted. I mean,
no, they knew.
Okay, imagine the people who didn't know. Yes. So answer this question.
Yes.
Why bring it at this point? Forget about the fact that he wanted to remind Kenyans, I know this happened. Why? Why?
I think he brought it to remind. My view is to remind the Kenyans that matter is still on the table. Although we are not addressing it today, don't forget it is on the table. A time comes when it will be addressed.
A supplementary question, Prof. and Ambrose, on this. The Azimio wing has said that this election was rigged. I'll talk about what Kioni said yesterday. Yes. Raila Odinga has consistently maintained this. He was in Mombasa with Abdul Swamad. He said it again. And one of the things Raila Odinga said is we need investigations. We need auditing of the election, what happened. We need Chebukati investigated and the two other commissioners, right? So that is what was said. Now, this Wafula Chebukati man, the IEBC chairperson, the gone chairperson, if you listen to what the president said, he basically did right by Kenyans by protecting the sanctity of the vote and ensuring that the vote counted in that election. So he has been hailed as a hero of that election. Yet this other faction, this other side, is asking for investigation. Can this government bite that bullet from the opposition and investigate Chebukati in the view of clearing this? Do you think that can ever happen?
Unless somebody is inviting this government and the president to act illegally, to act whatever, the process of investigating an election is through petitions. They did their petition in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, hot air. I do not know which other avenue would the president wake up and say, Chebukati, we are now auditing the elections. I really don't know. So those who are talking, grant them. They are playing politics. They are doing Trumpism. They are doing a Bolsonaro, Brazil or America. But that is politics. When it comes to law, anytime the president acts, we check the constitution. If it is outside the constitution, we will go back to court. So if he says, I want to order audit of these elections, there will be on what basis? It was audited.
But a basic thing,
if I want to invest
like that particular claim that we're discussing, what is the mechanism of dealing with it? I mean, supposing the president himself, his side, and the kidnap thing that we're talking about, if say we had to do something about it, or the president had to do something about it, what's the mechanism?
What is
the mechanism?
The president will go to court?
A criminal investigation.
Okay.
It would be a criminal investigation.
Who starts it?
Whether
who institutes the investigation?
Chebukati will simply complain. Record a complaint.
Okay,
just record a complaint.
Okay.
And then that complaint will be investigated.
So it's Chebukati to
yes, as he said, on this date, while I was preparing to do this, this and these people tried to interfere with me. They were like this, like this.
Where's the evidence? There's an active investigation, an active case after the violence that happened at the IBC just minutes before the announcement. Yes. So it could be part of it, part of his statement that can be investigated.
Yes, okay. It would be done like that, but it's not for politicians or an leading.
So what you're telling me, before I go to Prof, is that there is no way that the contenders in this election, the losers in this election, Azimio,
can ask for audit of the elections.
Get something out of this.
There is no provision for audit of any law in this, of any election in this country. Nothing. Audit, either audit a general auditing money, or the courts auditing the electoral process.
So there's
and
no way it could be audited.
They're just talking politics to please their supporters,
What
to
if they
look
go
nice.
to the regional court?
Where?
Like Martha Karua went to Arusha.
Those are politics hot air.
Mm-hmm.
The regional court has very limited jurisdiction. The sovereignty of the people of Kenya, we have...
Cannot be tested in that court?
No.
Okay. Prof, your take on this?
Yeah, well, and this is the issue for me still, that then, I mean, if you know that there's nothing that can be done about these issues, then why bring them? For me...
He says playing politics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you've said it.
Yes.
That side that you're supporting so vigorously is just playing politics.
Now you're already baptizing me.
Which side is he supporting?
I'm just giving you law because you don't know law.
No.
You know the other things.
No.
Me and him, we know law. We are given power to read.
My friend, the Constitution is written in plain English so that we can happily understand. And don't overrate yourself. You might be surprised about our knowledge of some of these things. But there's a point that then why the question I was bringing is that why then bring these issues if you know that
there's
legally
nothing that can be done about
nothing can be done about them.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, the president is playing politics.
No, forget about the president. Talk to us about Azimio. When they bring up issues, Raila Odinga calling for auditing of this election, arrest of Chebukati, probing, find out where this election.
And all those guys.
No. Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this particular election was settled. It went to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
The ruling came out. That particular ruling, whether you look at it from a legal perspective or from whatever common sense perspective, it makes sense. It does make sense.
Okay.
We are reasonable citizens of this country. We are not just politicking, and we need to be convinced that the president, His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Ruto, actually lost the election. So far, we've not seen anything.
Any evidence to that?
Any evidence to that effect.
Yes.
So yes, those who are saying they won the elections, those who are saying that there was 3 million staff. Those who are saying
because that's my next point.
That there were Americans trying to interfere with things are actually just playing politics, as far as I'm actually concerned. Because surely, if all that was there, and there was a case with again. People like Weda representing them in court, they should have put the evidence there
at that time.
Time.
So it's counterproductive. Even
So both sides are actually playing politics. The thing is that the election was determined. We have, and this one I agree with you, Ambrose, 100%. Yes. As a country, we do have systems. We have the constitution, we have the legal mechanisms, and the parties actually exhausted those legal mechanisms. The president of the republic was declared, and I believe. This I can say off camera. Actually, I believe the president won the election based on the information that I have. Yeah. If somebody else has some other information, then the onus is on them. The burden of proof is on them. Really.
So to what end? That's why I'm saying it's counterproductive. When Jeremiah Kioni, and I know he's watching, he's going to send me a text immediately. When he comes out and gives those details and say this election, Raila Odinga won it by 3 million votes,
like the mysterious plane I was saying. I'll tell Jeremiah Kioni that actually Raila Odinga didn't win by 3 million. Raila actually won by 20 million. He won the election by landslide. Take that information and use it for whatever purposes. There's some lies that are of no value to anybody actually. They don't help reform the process.
They claim that an anonymous insider from the IBC, with the election that has been audited, Raila had over 8 million.
Those are rumors in units. Why didn't they produce them? Why didn't they produce them?
That's why Ambrose will tell you they're pushing for the extension of that time.
No.
So that a lot of this can be exhausted.
On this one, I actually agree 100% with Ambrose. Because surely, you can imagine, Ken, you have a case against me, and I've won election, and I have the evidence. Then I'm hiding the evidence. I'm not producing it.
Then I produce it 4 months later.
No, you're not even producing it. You are presenting it as a rumor. You're not even saying that, guys, here's the evidence, and this is a mechanism by which I'm actually putting that, to the public. So Kioni should understand that there is no election. The elections ended. Kenya's a president.
For the next 5.
For the next 5 years. Whatever evidence he has, he can take it to Karioko Market. because the Supreme Court process was already exhausted.
You are unfair to Kioni. But the flip side is this,
Yes.
Ambrose.
Right.
Could they just be playing politics? Because
It's
the
politics.
president yesterday came out with that
parties are
claim,
playing
and
politics.
Chebukati said what he said, Professor Gulia and Boya Mulu said what they said. So today they respond, boom. So to divert attention of Kenyans, you say
I think
politics.
if I was in Kioni's shoes, from what the president said, I would do exactly that. You see, you must cover ground. You must cover ground so that you meet in the middle. Here is the president saying, you even try to abduct the IEBC chairman, all these things. You are the state, you are the president, you are all these things. And I defeated you people. How do you respond? Uliba. We defeated you. That is a normal way of reacting.
Okay.
So that it should not be something we take and like, could it be 2 million votes? It's like the entire Luland.
3 million.
3 million. The
3 million
entire
votes.
Luland, their votes, all of it
Oh, I think
was stolen.
it is implausible.
So I appreciate their reaction. Remember sometimes Baba himself saying, the Supreme Court, they should be taken to ICC. Chebukati should be taken to ICC. Now all these things, take them as politics, where you meet, so that when you meet the president, say, don't be too proud here. Don't be arrogant. We know what happened. And then now, carry on your work, but we know what happened.
Okay.
Otherwise, let's not put too much weight in what Kioni said. He himself lost his own seat. Not that he preferred that, but because his own cousins, brothers and sisters, and shemejis, the ones who love him and dance for him,
Maragwa.
just said, we love you, Kioni, but we are not giving you. So these are the 2 million. If you ask him privately, he will tell you, Nafikiri, they could have been stolen from Kisii or whatever. But here where I come from,
144
So,
constituencies.
Ambrose, I think we're on the same page on this,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
basically what you're saying is that whatever these statements that are being made,
Yes.
left, right, and center, including the one that you made, is politics.
Yes.
It's just politics, really. It's not facts, and Kenyans should not really get their attention.
So they are preoccupying us with
Rising.
politics.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are they diverting our attention from?
You see, the Roman Empire, when there was problems like this, they would actually take people to the circus, and
Find some entertainment.
there'll be entertainment. Some of them were mauled by lions and so on, and people would forget that actually there was hunger. So now, of course, we have sports. Guys are betting in sports pesa and trying to see which team will actually be winning. If that's not working properly, then there's a bit of religion. So people pray quite a bit, and then we have politics. So when when we have these fundamental problems, then what you do is get Omenya and Ambrose and everyone on the streets worrying about a matter that actually has zero consequence on anything. But we are so
Keep us
emotionally
busy. Keep us busy.
it keeps us very busy.
Yeah.
And then eventually, when we're like, so what is that conversation about? The guys
In a week or
in fact,
in a day or two.
if they were
It's a
structured,
circus.
if they were structured,
Yeah.
and
It's a
orderly,
circus.
and forward-looking, if I was in their shoes, I would not have been talking about 2 million votes. We would be saying, yes, now you have power. Tell us, we talked about Unga. Where is it today? We talked about this. That's what they should. That's the narrative they should be driving. Right? Narrative in Kenya, 2 million votes.
No, Ambrose, somebody was kidnapped.
Yes.
Forget
When-
about Unga. Unga is not an issue
Yeah,
now. We
when
can't
the
discuss that.
president also
Somebody was
threw-
kidnapped.
It's a better topic.
Yes, when the when the president throws at you a herring and you chase it.
Correct.
They
Same-
should be
same
clever
thing.
enough, these guys.
No,
Yeah,
they tried it even. They tried
thing.
rallies, talk about Runga, and then the president answered.
Yes.
It's because of the mess the handshake put us in.
Exactly.
That's why I'm still struggling with this. Then you go quiet, because of the handshake. So I want to talk about something in a few minutes,
Yes.
which is very important. Senate tomorrow begins sittings,
Right.
and they are going to talk about IPPG in quotes.
Correct.
Right? They're trying to find the selection panel to this IBC. Now, look at the constitution of IBC right now.
Right.
Yes.
One who is even suspended. There is no one in that office.
Correct.
Yes.
The reasoning
It's
is
a
that, I
commission
don't know,
body.
you two know this
Yes.
better than me, because I was still a little young, 1997
Yes.
IPPG.
Yes.
They say it was the best commission that gave us I mean, it was the best election because of IPPG, because of how political parties agreed. Now, if you look at how they want to even the composition of this selection panel, is there anything that bothers you? Let me start with Ambrose. With that selection, or do you think it's right in order? Because it seems Senate has actually agreed on how it's going to be composed.
Let me tell you, my brother, this thing, let me be very clear. You work out which selection panel. Oh, this one. Anytime you say the president will appoint the selection panel,
undermines it.
He'll tell you, come there.
Correct.
Come there. True. Whether come there. And then for chair, give me these 3 names.
We agree. Yeah.
Because you will not give him one, you'll give him 3.
That is the only commission where they give 3 names.
Correct.
Yes.
Only.
And then, no, even others, you give.
They give 3 names?
Yes. Even others for chair, they'll give 3 names and the president. So
yeah.
eventually, this thing, the way it is choreographed, in the constitution, it looks very nice. But in the end, practically, it is the president appointing this.
At the end of the day.
So this thing of, we are doing IPPG, the IPPG was political parties suggested names.
Yes.
Now that is very wrong because...
It is, correct.
Why it is wrong, look at like UDA.
Yeah.
By the time we were going for elections, UDA was not there.
Right.
So if you had appointed people on the basis of the parties you are there, what about the new emerging parties? When we go for elections in 2027, a new party, a new movement may emerge. That's why the people of Kenya, in writing the constitution, envisaged that the various organizations, the Law Society of Kenya, the Supreme Council of Muslims, the interfaith, they select people who, when they converge, there is a level of neutrality and independence. Then they give names that limits the president's power to a few people. That still remains mundane and good. But otherwise, the IPPG style, what about the parties which are not there now, but will be
created in 2026?
Yes. And they will win. That is how even
UDA,
TNA, Jubilee was done. They are done towards the end.
But even more fundamentally, the thing is that why then did we have an independent commission? The idea really is that an independent arbitrator in elections is a good thing for us, as opposed to a situation where different political parties. I think IPPG is like those guys who say that, you know, when we were young, we're in the village, and we had no shoes and so on, and life was good. It's true. Like, in fact, life wasn't that good. People were dying at the age of 15 and the whatever. I don't think IPPG was good. I think.
But they say it produced the best.
No, at that time it was good.
Yeah, at
that time. Remember, but let me just help you here. Before.
Oh yeah, of course.
Before,
prior to that,
was President Moi who was
picking everyone,
picking the chair of the commission and the members, everything.
The context makes
sense.
So
the first election, 1992, he was the contestant and the referee and everything. So the next subsequent people say,
if you look at the
just hold on, Prof.
Right.
People said we are not going to go for elections.
Correct.
If like this is it. So they said, okay, what we do, let us quickly agree, so that you, the opposition, appoint, we also appoint, and we have.
And bring the chairman.
Yes. Yeah, and if you look at it, and I'll throw it back to Ambrose. I think we must ask ourselves what is the spirit of independent commissions, and what is the spirit of independent institutions?
Is it independent by name or truly independent?
Exactly.
I'm always confused.
That's the issue, and what you're aspiring to is a situation where you can get into an election where you know that the referee is independent, is not necessarily, and immediately political parties then pick, you know, the referee, as it were. This referee cannot be independent because we know where the referee has actually come from.
Let me explain to you.
And if you look at it, the Election Act itself, I mean, if you look at the appointment of the selection panel, there's actually no provision. There's no direct provision for political parties.
Yes,
and I think that's a good thing. That yes, they can influence, but on the other hand, you know, your own institution, LSK, that also picks for us judges and so on. We feel that those institutions, if they do their work properly, we will get a semblance of independence.
Okay.
Let me explain to you this independence, Mijungu, my brother. It's not bad talk. There are 3 aspects of independence. Number 1 is financial independence.
Okay.
Now, the IEBC has financial independence. In other words, you go to parliament, you put your budget,
right.
The way you run it, who you elect, that independence is there. Then secondly, people are put in.
Right.
And they have the parameters within which they can be independent. And it is on that basis that Chebukati refused to listen to President Uhuru.
Yes.
And we have all these allegations. The only tricky independence, very tricky, is the independence of the individual. Where are you able, even as a judge, are you able to stand your ground in certain circumstances?
Okay, makes sense.
You could see that some commissioners went to Serena after taking tea to declare elections in wherever. Now, if you look at that, you say, were they independent? Or the ones who remained, were they independent? That individual independence remains the trickiest
thing. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at the video of the week, then we can come back and close. The video of the week.
Na nimemwambia gavana wa Nairobi tutakaa chini na yeye kwa sababu sisi ndio tulimchagua. Mimi ndio niliketisha Wakikuyu pale Nairobi nikamwambia wamchague. Na nimemuita tukae chini na yeye. Mambo yoyote ambaye anaamua ambaye anaweza haribu biashara katika Nairobi, kwanza tuongee tukubaliane. Hatutaki speed mingi sana, twende pole pole. Si ndio? Hiyo maneno ati ya kutoa matatu nini, hiyo maneno haiwezekani. Sitaki tuanze kusumbua wafanyabiashara.
The reason I'm bringing this, and I just like a minute comment on it because we are out of time, is because of the value of political patronage, the place of political patronage. Sisi ndio tuli mchagua. So at the end of the day, how does it work?
Yeah, I think this statement, as our DP, finds his footing in the office. Of course, I mean, Kenyans bashed that quite a bit because he presented himself as the Kikuyu leader and is trying to present himself as the Kikuyu leader. And to me, the only thing that we would like to say is that you are the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and yes, we know there's a vacuum somewhere in the Kikuyu leadership. But on the other hand, rise. And also occupy this space. It's possible to actually be a Kenyan leader, to be a national leader, and also be a regional leader, as opposed to coming in to fight for a tribal faction. I think in a way that sort of, watered down the position of the deputy. And I think the president has done very well in that regard. I mean, everywhere the president goes, he was in Nyanza the other day, and you saw a Kenyan leader, rallying people, bringing in the position, the winners and all this, rallying them together towards this bigger goal. And having said that, you also see our governor in Nairobi. You see a situation where our governor, and so far I think Sakaja has done very well, he projects himself as this Nairobi leader. Occasionally some outsiders there remind people that he's a lawyer. But when I look at the man, I don't see a lawyer. I see a governor for Nairobi. I see a governor for Nairobi. And I think just for the optics, I mean, elections, he can be elected as a Kikuyu leader, I don't really care. But just for the optics and for the good of the country, I think the DP needs to really figure out how he can also project himself as the leader of all Kenyans.
National leader. Ambrose.
Mijungu, my brother. Sakaja was elected by about 60% Kikuyus. That is a fact.
No.
Majority of his people who voted for him in the city of Nairobi are Kikuyus.
60%?
The other, allow me, Prof, put my case. No. I have not said, I said about. The other people, most of them voted their Simio governor. As at now, Rigathi Gachagua Honorable stands as the kingpin of the Kikuyu nation.
He didn't have to go through President Uhuru.
He has now become the kingpin by virtue of election. And you need a constituency to be a human being. The only reason why me and you, we are just struggling here in the studio is that we have not established constituencies. When we establish, people will look for you in the house and say, Bwana Mijungu, come, we talk. We need to get power. So he is also trying to consolidate that position. The governor, Honorable Sakaja, is also trying to make Nairobi work. And some of the things that ideally can work are those he's suggesting, except it involves massive, big interests. That's why you see that clash. And it is a healthy clash. The guy is saying, I'm talking for my fellow Kikuyus, businessmen. Those who elected you, he's right. Governor is saying, we need to bring sanity into the city center. He's also right. And I think as they settle into the offices and realizes the realities, they will come to a consensus. They'll come to where the Nairobi people win and also the business people win. Throwing the matatus out of the city is ideal.
But
it
doesn't make political...
Not only political, even now it still does not make sense. Okay. Tell me you leave me here at Nyayo for me to head to my office near View Park Towers. Surely you must make an arrangement. And for ladies it is worse. So it is a good idea, a good thing to implement. It is only that we have to put in other structures. Okay. That has not been put.
We have to end, so you have to...
I'm really just a quick one. Yes, I mean, if you have an issue with matatus in the city, is it possible for a politician to address matatu as opposed to Kikuyunizing matatu? Or address businesses in the city as opposed to Kikuyunizing business? The point I'm trying to say...
They own about 70% of the traffic. The Kikuyus and the Kisses.
Yes. The point I'm trying to make is that, and I believe so, that the DP would have still fought for the plight of these people without appearing to be a tribalist. Okay. I mean,
let's get this thing clear, Mjungu, my brother.
We have to end, but
talking about Luo, Kikuyu, Kisi, there's nothing wrong. Our constitution celebrates these our nationalities. So that when you say that don't stop the Luo nation from cheering Gor Mahia, or the lawyer from cheering AFC Leopards. You are not being tribal. Okay. When you say the Kikuyus are doing matatu business, you are not being let's not run away from this our tribes.
The matatu business, people are being kicked out of town. Are they the only ones with matatus in town?
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you. My director is on my ear. I want to thank you for coming tonight. Very nice conversation here tonight, and I'm sure to invite you again for another one. I hope next week, when the tribunal investigating the Cherera 4 sits with Chebukati, Boya Mulu, and I hope we can have this conversation again based on what they say. But I want to thank you so much, Professor, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana kwa kuja, and Happy New Year. I haven't seen you. And the gentleman who we have a lot to talk about next time, I will just say thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambrose. I think it's good Ken has said that there'll be a rematch.
No, there will be. And thank you for watching News Hour. My name is Ken Mijungo. On behalf of the whole team, have a good night. We get another opportunity to do this. We'll definitely be on the red chairs. They sit on the yellow. Have a good night.